Hello and welcome back to Fallout Mods Monthly, a series in which each month I show you my 5 favourite mods that I'll be carrying forward and using for the foreseeable future in Fallout 4. So let's get to it. The first mod we have this week is the Valkyr female face and body textures by Fuse00. The first retexture for the female character that isn't incredibly crude, and it's actually quite heavily detailed, allowing an increase in the quality of the female character without making it really uncomfortable for you to play the game, especially around other people or on YouTube. So, I've also heard some people say that this texture is too pale, and in some lights I'm inclined to agree with that, but in all honesty it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, I don't really see my own character's body anyway, because they wear clothes and I'm playing the game in first person. The only characters I really see are essentially my companions, and most of the time it's their face and their arms. So it doesn't really bother me too much, and I don't know, there's nothing wrong with a pale person. So there you go. That's the first female body texture that actually looks any good. I know CBB's been released, but in all honesty, I'm avoiding using it until the creation kit comes out, and then there are 1,000 different armors that you have to have CBB to use. Then I'll start using it. Until then, I'm using this one just because it's nicer, in all honesty. In my opinion, it does look better from my standpoint. So, moving swiftly onward, we come to a rather expected mod, which is Robot Home Defense by the Talkie Toaster. Now, I say expected because this mod is another settlement-related mod allowing you to build your very own Roboco robots in your settlement. This means that you no longer have to have a bunch of boring stationary turrets defending your base. You can actually have some defenses with character. You can have sentry bots and I forgot the names. Essentially, you can have a bunch of robots that defend your base, and there are also different ones that do different things. There's ones that increase your settlement's happiness. Essentially, you can do a crap ton of different things with these, and they just add a bunch of character to your base. Rather than just having a whole bunch of sentry guns everywhere, you can just have these guys running around your base. They look a crap ton cooler, they actually defend your base really well, and they're just generally awesome. I think there's the fact that you can't actually repair them is a slight problem, and I think that's about it. You can recruit them as companions as well, from what I've read, which seems quite useful, although it might be a bit of a powered walk around with a sentry bot. But that's it's just your choice to do that, I suppose. And there is the other downside to this mod, which is the fact that it requires you to have a perk in, or perk points in, the Robotics Expert perk, which in some cases is kind of a pain and off-putting, due to the fact that me personally never even realised this perk existed, nor did I ever want to use it, because my character is based around mainly stealth and charisma, so that she can either shoot somebody from a distance, never have to deal with the conflict, or talk her way out of things. Robotic Expert never even came into the picture, nor did I even really know it was a perk in the game until this mod. But yeah, it's kind of off-putting having to get a perk for it. I think there might be a perkless version. If not, someone needs to work on that one. But moving on, we have yet another settlement mod, and this is Homemaker Expanded Settlements by Nova Koru, which essentially is just an add-on to Settlement Supplies Extended, which I brought up last month. You can use both of them separately. They do work as their own separate things because a lot of them add the same stuff, but you can use them in conjunction using a patch, which allows you to get a whole bunch of new things in the game. Because this one actually adds new building materials, which is, there's an entirely new set of building materials you can use, which is the Institute set, so you can build Institute looking modern buildings, which looks really cool. You can also have more decorative objects. There's more cars and trees, which is the similar thing to Settlement Supplies Extended. There's new crops that you can get, which aren't added by SSEXD or something like that. I can't remember the exact abbreviation for Settlement Supplies Extended. But then there's also new objects. There's beds and showers, which aren't added by the other mod. There's new lighting objects, such as flaming barrels, candles, fluorescent lights, and there's also new fencing sets, which aren't added by Settlement Supplies Extended. So using both of them in conjunction means you literally have hundreds of different things you can choose to build within your settlements. It completely overhauls Bethesda's way of setting it up as well, because it changes how the build system itself works, like how things are laid out within the menus. and actually makes them a little more organised and makes more sense. It also has the added feature of then making it more awkward to find things when you've been using the build system for 70 plus hours, but it does mean that you can find stuff more easy once you get used to the new setup, because the new setup is better, and this is just a massive improvement upon what Bethesda already gave us, and essentially puts Bethesda's basic stuff to shame, I think, because this mod adds so much that is just so useful for building, and Bethesda really did miss a trick with half the stuff they're doing. So, on to mod number 4. OCD Decorator by George Dow, which is the last settlement mod for this month, you'll be happy to know. And this is essentially a fix for the problem I was having in my settlement if you've watched the base store videos. The fact that physics-based objects like the plates or Nuka-Cola trucks, or the skulls, or the little Roboco robots that you can find in lunchboxes and stuff, or Nuka-Cola balls, would sink into other static objects, or would ping across the room, or end up inside of your suit of X01, a completely separate building on the other side of the settlement. This mod essentially allows it so you can place the more physics-based objects using the build system as static objects. Now, what this means is essentially your objects won't fall through things, they won't be moved around when you fast travel away, they won't ping around your house, they won't end up inside your suit of X01. They are... essentially, it turns normal physics-based objects in the world into objects that can't be moved. They are solid objects that you can't push past, essentially. Unlike a normal can on the floor, you'd be able to just walk over and it falls over in the game. When it becomes a static object using this mod, it becomes a fixed point that you can't walk through, you have to walk around or over it, essentially. There is a downside with this, and that's the fact that the plates for some reason sink into the table, which is a bit odd, and now it kind of looks like they all have this weird brown soup mixture in them, which is also 50% wood, but that can be fixed, I guess. Essentially, it just requires the placed axis to be moved up slightly on the actual object, which I'm hoping Geoff Dow can get around to, hopefully, because I quite like my dining room, and I'd like to actually have my plates be on the table, not halfway into it. But moving on to the final of the primary mods, and this is a nice break from the sort of mods, and this is the Mojave Imports by MKDo40. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce that, that's how I'm reading it. This mod is a lovely little touch for Fallout 4. It doesn't do anything massive, but it does add a bunch of new consumable items to the game's item pool that you can't... So, essentially, what this does is it adds a whole bunch of new items to the game's item pool so you can find them in the game world. So, what this does add is essentially everything that's missing from New Vegas to Fallout 4. So, atomic cocktails, black coffee, caravan lunch, cat eye, fixer, homemade atomic cocktail, homemade Nuka-Cola, hydro, hypo, Mississippi quantum pie, Nuka-Cola quartz, Nuka-Cola victory, red scorpion casserole, rum and coke, steady, sunset sarsaparilla, and super stimpaks. So there you go, it's a crap ton of new items for you to find in the wasteland, and they're all quite useful, and they're all kind of unique, I guess. And plus it adds some variation if you like decorating a house with Nuka-Cola, which I do quite a lot. Now, before I go, because that's the main segment out of the way, I have another bonus section for you guys. And this one is to sort of celebrate Star Wars that came out last month now. And, that's the Star Wars mods that have come out, which is Darth Vader's Mask and the Lightsaber mod. Now, you can have lightsaber battles to your heart's content in a much better game than Battlefront. So, yeah, if you want to run around the wasteland with an immersion-breaking lightsaber and slash the crap out of some ghouls, or whoever you run into, this is the mod for you, because it adds a sort of a variety of lightsabers. You do have to cheat to get any of them currently, because they're not actually added into the game world, because the creation kit's not here, but you can spawn them in using the console, and they are quite cool, and the Darth Vader mask is very well done as well. So there you have it, guys. Fallout 4 mods December. Oh, and welcome to 2016. Hope to see you guys very soon.